3四球、1失点と力投しました。これで今季18試合の登板のうち、先発で6回以上を投げて自責点3以下に抑えるクオリティスタートは15度目。今季も変わらぬ安定感を見せています。この試合は FOX による全米中継で放送され、試合前から山本の登板に大きな注目が集まりました。放送では随所で山本の投球が高く評価され、現地実況や解説陣から称賛の声が相次いでいます。これらの模様を日本語字幕付きでご紹介します。
Well, Chris, as things currently stand, the Dodgers don't need Scooble. But so much depends upon how they view the health of their rotation. Dave Roberts said today that Shohei Ohtani experienced discomfort in his knee following his last bullpen session on Wednesday. That led to the cancellation of his bullpen session today. Ohtani still expected to pitch this season. Blake Snell expected back in August, Tyler Glasnow around September 1st. And the Dodgers still have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Justin Robleski, and Roki Sasaki, with Edwin Diaz returning on Wednesday to bolster the bullpen. That said, the Dodgers are going for a three-peat. They've got prospects galore to trade, and they know one way or another, greater payroll restrictions are coming in the next CBA. They cannot simply ignore the possibility of adding Tarek Skubal, Chris.
The Dodgers, an impressive statement outside of the All-Star break. They win back-to-back series over teams like the Yankees and Phillies. Those are the World Series level contenders. That's where the Dodgers are, as Ken talking about what they're thinking. And they did it, without Ohtani, describing the knee situation. He is in the lineup tonight, obviously, as a hitter, and that's where he's going to stay for now. I guess the question is, based on what Ken was saying, Don Trell, and you're very familiar with this type of situation here. Dodger fans want to know, and Dave Roberts, will he be available in the postseason? I mean, that's really where you need him the most.
1,000%, because this is the model, especially with the older veteran rotation of Tyler Glasnow and Blake Snell. You don't have to be healthy or good the whole year, but towards the end of that year, give yourself enough time into September to be able to build up into the postseason with command and velocity. Now, Shohei Ohtani, he's a two-way player, obviously. That lower half is very important, not only for pitching to avoid injury of the arm, but also to hitting. So they're definitely not going to be able to rush him back. He is the golden goose. But they still have pitching depth. Justin Robleski, who is an all-star, definitely developing that. Also, when you have Yamamoto on the mound, one of the best big game hunters in the game today, went 5-1 last year with a 1.4 ERA in the postseason, you're doing just fine. There's no stress level. Also, you have a commanding lead in that division where you don't have that urgency to rush anybody back into that rotation.
And remember, they have Edwin Diaz somewhere in that bullpen when they need him. And you said you would start Yamamoto if you needed him in the postseason. But I want to ask you about Skubal, because if you were making that call in Detroit based on what we know in that situation, no matter what other team is out there, even if the Dodgers don't, would you trade him, or would you try to keep him and maybe contend and go for those postseason numbers?
As a fan, I would love to see him stay in Detroit because he's passionate about pitching in a Tiger uniform, but economically, you trade him, especially if you're talking to teams like the Dodgers that have a lot of prospects that can really bolster your roster, not only in that rotation, but in everyday players as well. You got to give him up because he has a chance to walk at the end of the year.
Now, Yamamoto's a whole different beast. This guy's the complete package. What he did last year in the postseason World Series, well, he hasn't missed a beat in the regular season. His command, his ability to miss bats is second to none. He can throw a complete game. He can strike out 12. He can do it all.
Yeah, he started his second half with a complete game against the Yankees. He had the two complete games in the postseason last year, but this was his first regular season complete game since coming to the majors a couple years back. Against Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the World Series MVP last year, has followed that up with a great regular season. He's coming off a complete game against the Yankees.
Yeah, he is as good as it gets. This is a stud. He's not very tall, but he pitches huge because of his extension and because you just can't know what he's going to throw. There's his pitch mix, the splitter, of course, and the four-seamer splitting the majority of those pitches. This should be an aggressive Mets offense against a strike-throwing machine. Last start, 21 first pitch strikes, which is impressive out of about 30 batters. I'd say that mark puts the hitter in the defensive spot quick.
Splitter right there is hacked foul, and the Mets are looking and saying, we got to see another guy with a splitter after Roki Sasaki last night rode his. The Mets went 0 for 12 with 6 strikeouts against Sasaki's splitter. Nobody in the National League better than Yamamoto throwing that pitch. Yamamoto faced the Mets earlier this season, actually the same pitching matchup back at Dodger Stadium in April, and both guys were awesome. 7 innings for McClain in that game. Yamamoto went 7 2/3. Gave up a leadoff home run to Lindor and then retired 20 in a row. Misses away with a heater, 3-2.
Well, again, with so many opportunities to get you out, this is where he could throw 1 of 5 pitches on 3-2. He has such confidence with it.
Joe, when Yamamoto first came to the majors, he was unfamiliar with the hitters, and his catchers called his games. Now, in his 3rd season, he is taking greater control. His catchers still call his pitches, but he is establishing in pregame meetings the sequences he wishes to employ. He's doing the same thing between innings, particularly now with Will Smith out. And that greater conviction, you talked about the same thing with Max Muncy, it's leading to greater efficiency. He is 4th in the majors in pitches per inning.
Well, his start against the Yankees last weekend was on a day of a doubleheader. It's the first game, so you knew with a bullpen game coming in the second game, it was going to be extra important that he go deep. And you were touching on this before we came on the air. His ability to be a different pitcher based on what the game calls for. He only got 6 swings and misses. He can go out and get a whole bucket full of them and strike out a dozen, but he knew that he needed to be efficient and had that complete game on 102 pitches.
And he did it in Yankee Stadium where most pitchers, if they're honest, they're trying to miss bats because fly balls don't come back. And I think that's the confidence that he has. What we saw last year, we may never see again. I mean, just his dominance at the end of the year in the most crucial of moments told me all I needed to know about this young man.
World Series MVP last year, complete game in Game 2, winning pitcher in Game 6, and then, of course, finished off Game 7. Remember, he was ready to pitch in Game 3, the 18-inning game, one day after
Just
Game 2.
Incredible. When you see a guy like that on the mound, your teammates run through a wall for him because you know, A, some of the things he did last year he didn't have to do, and B, he's just a bulldog, and he's out there in a rotation that's been beat up with injuries. And like you said, pitched a complete game when the bullpen needed it.
Trying to follow up what Sasaki did last night with the 7 innings, one of the best outings of his career. Yamamoto's 0-2, back to the splitter to finish him off. 1-2-3 second for Yamamoto. No score after 2. Thought it was interesting. I asked Dave Roberts a few weeks ago who Yamamoto reminds him of, and he brought you up. He said, yeah, he's not as big as John. It's maybe not his power stuff, but the ability to, on both sides of the plate, make it go both directions. He brought up John Smoltz.
Well, and what that means to a hitter is it's all coming out of the same window. The release point's the same. And his command on both sides of the plate has become elite, and that's why a hitter does not like facing a guy like him because he's got various lanes to get you out. The splitter away from the lefter, the cutter in, the slow breaking ball to slow you down, then the firm fastball.
The doc was saying it reminded him of John Smoltz, and how about the very youngest version of John Smoltz?
July 23rd, 100 years ago.
Major League debut, 8 innings here in New York.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. And certainly that team was loaded, the Mets. I didn't finish as good as that game was. I finished that year struggling at 2-7, but I learned a lot.
So much to like about Yoshinobu Yamamoto. What is the thing about him that impresses you most?
Well, I think typically it's just command, but tonight he's not as sharp as he usually is. And, this year he's been very efficient, which has allowed for him to go deep in games. Tonight it's a little bit more of a grind. There's some bad walks in there, but I think for me is, he can limit damage. He can make pitching when he needs to.
Shohei Ohtani, supposed to have a bullpen session today. It was canceled. Dave, what is your level of concern about his ability to pitch again this season?
Not concerned at all as far as that. I think that for us, I think certainly the position that we've put in as a team, we have a lot more leeway to kind of make sure that he is as good to go and we don't have any setbacks. And he had a bullpen last week and didn't come out of it feeling well. So I think for us, it's just kind of, let's take a couple steps back, not put him into a corner to make him have to do something. Cause I think honestly right now, what we do have on our side is time.
Dave, thank you. All right, Joe, back to you.
Yeah, Ohtani last pitch on July 3rd, dealing with that knee issue. Okay. And the big thing here is as they try to figure out when to bring him back as a pitcher, how hard to push him as a pitcher, his biggest value to the Dodgers is as their leadoff hitter.
Yeah, and, adrenaline is a crazy thing. And when you're running the bases, you got to have that adrenaline toned down if you want to be doing all the things you want to do and stretching into triples, so on. I mean, that's the human nature of baseball. When you see it, you go for it. And then I've been trying to tell people what he's been doing has been miraculous and how hard it's going to be to do the full time, both pitcher and hitter. And if anything goes wrong with your lower half, pitching is going to suffer. Hitting could still go, you could still get by with hitting, but pitching is going to suffer more.
86 pitches for the Dodger ace. You know, there was a reputation of him being, brittle is the word, but got to really keep an eye on him. You know, he needed his specific schedule coming from Japan. But he's proven that as long as he gets those full 5 days off between starts, you can push him as far as you want to push him. And if there were any doubts left about that as last season went on, he'd put any of those to rest with what he did in October. Talk about the reliability of Yamamoto, and the Dodgers have needed him as much as ever, given Snell and Glasnow haven't been available. They've gotten a total of 8 starts from those two guys. We were talking about Ohtani earlier. He's not pitched since July 3rd. Sounds like it's going to be a while before he'll pitch again. But the sure thing has been Yamamoto.
Mets have had a hard time against the split finger fastball. And a lot of hitters are going to have a hard time because that pitch has become such a weapon.
That's the number one pitch when you're looking at average against. Hardest pitch to hit in baseball. Marcus Semien lofts one in the air to center field for Andy Pages. I've heard some hitters theorize that, you know, they get so much work done these days on the trajectory pitching machines that can simulate actual pitches. It doesn't replicate splitters nearly as well as it does everything else. So that's one theory why guys can't hit it.
That's exactly right. And I think, you know, for me personally, in 96, that changed my trajectory as a starting pitcher when I came up with that. It just comes out of the hand like a fastball, and to a left-handed hitter, they'll just tell you when it drops and disappears, you don't have the time to recognize it, just swing.
Then it went away collectively across baseball for a few years. It got a reputation that it was an injury-inducing pitch, but it's made a big comeback in recent years.
Yeah, just to clarify, forkball versus splitter is two different things. The forkball is where you dig in between your fingers and you get more of a knuckleball tumbler. Splitter is thrown more like a fastball, and it's an easy pitch to throw, in my opinion, without the stress that the forkball creates.
No matter your finger hand size?
No, you do have to have
bigger.
Yeah. I don't think a guy with a smaller hand, he's probably got a better chance at a changeup than he does as a split.
Now, Yamamoto doesn't have the biggest hands, but pretty much every pitcher comes up throwing that pitch in Japan, learning how to do it. And that's been part of the increase in that pitch across baseball in recent years. It's been the influx of pitchers from Japan.
Seeing a 4-1 game with 2 outs and you're kind of at the end of your rope, you would want him to just put the ball in play here. But his ability to throw multiple pitches, as we talked about, he doesn't have to throw a fastball here because traditionally he can throw any one of his 3 off speeds and get a swing and miss or a ground ball.
His 100th pitch of the night is a curve that just misses high, but a challenge coming here from Rushing. And I think it's going to get him strike 3 to finish off his night. It does.
Ball is overturned. It's a strike.
It looked like everybody besides Rushing had given up on that pitch, but it came back to catch the top of the zone and finish off the 6th.